Good morning, friends. BBSM Academy welcomes you to the electronics lesson 1, Introduction, Basic Principles of Electronics. Here to concentrate on keywords which are very important in the field of electronics: resistors, capacitors, diodes, and transistors, including inductors, transformers, and RLC circuit. Well, friends, the basic concepts of electronics. Electron are the fundamental particles of an atom, a component of an atom, and their use known as electronics. That means the role of electrons in the science and technology is nothing but study of electronics. So it has a predominant role, important role in many pieces of household equipment. The basic electronics comprises the minimal electronics components that make up a part of everyday electronics equipment. These electronic components include resistors, transistors, as I told you. The principles of electronics. All electronics equipment works on the fundamental physics principle known as Ohm's law, which comes in electricity. Ohm's law is a very important law in the electricity as well as in electronics. Ohm's law. What is Ohm's law? The potential difference between the two terminals of a conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. So, my dear friend, the circuit comprises the electronic components known as the circuit elements, linked with wires to a battery and designed to obey Ohm's law. Power supply. The battery produces the voltage and current that drives the powers of electronic components. The electrons flow through wires and are modulated by the arrangement of electronic components to produce specific results. The voltage is measured in units called the volts. The current in units called amperes or amps. Resistors. Resistor is a circuit element designed to offer resistance to flow of electrons called current. A heating coil is an example of application of a resistor. Arranged in series, the resistance may be arranged in series and in additive value, that is circuit's total resistance equals the sum of all the resistors value. They are also arranged in parallel, their combined value diminishes. The unit of resistance is the ohm. In practice, we have kilo ohm and mega ohm units. This is a resistor which indicates the color bands: band A, first digit; band B, second digit; band C, multiplier; B and D, percentage tolerance. Well, capacitors. Capacitors are circuit elements that present the opposite of resistors. They store electrical power. Capacitors, the terminology itself indicates the power of storing the electric current. Their capacity is measured in farads and practical subunits of a farad such as microfarad and picofarads. When arranged in parallel, their combined value increases, like that of the resistors. When in series, their combined value diminishes. Basic electronic circuits always include some capacitors. These are the different types of capacitors. which are used in the field of electronics. Now, diodes and triodes. Diode, a circuit element, encourages current to flow in only one direction. It has two terminals, unlike the transistors, which has three. In the transistor, current can flow in more than one direction. Both diodes and transistors modulate current direction and voltage. A transistor is a semiconductor device that uses a small amount of voltage or electrical current to control a larger change in the voltage or current. Because of its fast response and accuracy, it may be used in a wide variety of applications, including amplification, switching, voltage stabilization, signal modulation, and as an oscillator. The transistor is the fundamental building block of both digital and analog circuits, the circuitry that governs the operation of the computers, cellular phones, and all other modern electronics. So, my dear friends, transistors may be packaged individually or as a part of integrated circuit chip, which may hold thousands of transistors in a very small area. This is a diode, consists of positive anode and negative cathode. This is the symbol which represents the diode. This is the material and the types of diodes. Now these are the transistors. As I told you, the transistors changes the direction of the flow of electrons or flow of current. Transistor is symmetrical to a vacuum triode and relatively very small in size. So, my dear friends, transistor is a composition of two words, transfer and resistor. A transistor consists of three layers of semiconductor material, and each layer is having the capacity of transferring current to the other layers. A bipolar junction transistor consists of three regions of doped semiconductors. A small current in the center or base region can be used to control a large current flowing between the end regions. The device can be characterized as a current amplifier, having many applications for amplification and switching. So this is the transistor consists of collector and emitter. So there are two types of transistors, PNP and NPN. In PNP, N is the base, and in NPN, P is the base. So this is the symbols used in the transistors. What is a transistor? You know that. Transistor is symmetrical to a vacuum triode and relatively very small in size. I hope that you have understood the difference between the diode and triode. In diode we will have only positive or negative ends, but in triode include with base between the two, positive and negative. Both are varies the current flow. In diode, the current flow is only in one direction, but in triode or a transistor flows in different directions or varies in different directions. This three-layered semiconductor device consisting of either two N-type and P-type layers of material, of two P-type or one type of layers of material. First type is called an NPN transistor, while the other is called PNP transistor, as I told you in the previous slide. Germanium and silicon are most preferable semiconductor materials which conducts electricity in semi-energetic way. By the process of doping to the semiconductor material, The result adds the outer layers have widths much greater than the inserted p-type or n-type material that is typically in 10.10:1 ratio or less even. Well friends, the difference between the diode and the transistor is a diode is made up of two layers and one junction. Transistor is made up of three layers with two junctions. A transistor can act as an on or off switch or an amplifier. Inductors, transformers and RLC circuit. These are the important things. Basic electronic circuits often include inductors and transformers as circuit elements. An inductor is a coil of wire that produces a desired magnetic field, unlike capacitor which produces a desired electric field. When coupled with the resistor and capacitor, an inductor contributes to a special tuning circuit called an RLC. In the forthcoming classes, let us discuss about the detailed study of inductors and transformers and RLC circuit. Thank you. See you again in the next class. Like, share and subscribe. This is Virabhadraya Demaya, Gopnalli, VVSM Academy, Kalyan Nagar, Bangalore, Campat, Gopal.